All right, people of faith, let's take another walk. I want to do a versus type deal. I don't want to say men versus women or women versus men, but more so, what are we actually looking for? When it comes to dating or it comes to interacting with our husband and all that, what are we looking for? And we're talking about people to my people of faith, and of course we're stating that we're using the Bible as our reference, as a template, as a foundation, as our basics to what we're going to build on, our structure, so forth. So the question becomes, if I'm proposing this question to the gentleman, what are you looking for in a woman or in a wife? I would say, yeah, and in that type of deal, you're gonna really have a choice between the two. You're gonna have the choice between the harlot or the virtuous woman. And if I were to propose this question to the women, what are you looking for in a man? You're really gonna have a choice of two: the whoremonger or the man of valor. So in most cases, we are in dead spot in the middle. As a man, you are in the middle between a harlot and a virtuous woman, and as a woman, you are a dead spot in the middle between uh, a man of valor and a whoremonger. So the reason why we're in the middle is because, in fact, we are more like we're not decided where we are, and which is the case while we are single. And if we get to the place that we're still there in our everyday decision, that we dead spot in the middle. We haven't decided if we're going to be, as a man, I haven't decided if I want to be the whoremonger or if I'm going to be the man of valor. Or as a woman, if she haven't decided if she's going to be the harlot or she's going to be the virtuous woman, we are a dead spot in the middle, which is the equivalent of us being, or the very result of why we are single. And the reason why we're there because we haven't found the reason to really, or we haven't found the determining factor to make a decision of which lane we actually want to be. So, for of course, I could speak very specifically about myself as a man and very directly about me as a man. There's no reason, as a man, there's no reason for me to let's say, to be a virtuous man, unless I'm looking for there's no, correct, let me change that. There's no reason for me to be a man of valor, with the exception of me looking for a virtuous wife. So that will make me a whoremonger, right? So I my only choosing would be a harlot. Yet I would try to refine the harlot into a virtuous woman. That's not going to work. She's either going to come in as a virtuous woman or she's not. Either which way it goes, that it's her decision to be. So if I'm a man of valor, my eyes is only set on a virtuous woman. So, but if I'm not a man of valor, or if I'm saying I'm a man of valor, I'm going to get the results of a harlot. But if I am if I am a man of valor, then my sights is on a virtuous woman only. And it's not me saying that I'm going to force myself to be that way. That will be the standard because that's based upon the value that's inside of me, my value for myself. If I'm not willing to seek God to be virtue, I mean to be forgive me, if I'm not willing to seek God to be a man of valor, but then there's no value within me. I can dress it up like a wolf in sheep's clothing all I want, and try to present myself as a man of valor, but the results nonetheless will be the same, empty. So let's go ahead and go to some definitive scriptures to define a man of valor, or and to define a woman of virtue. We're gonna go in the book of Psalms, Psalms number 1. Uh, it says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of the sinner, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and his law doeth he meditate day and night. And okay, now the man of valor, of course, he would say he's blessed, as well as we could say the virtuous woman is prosperous, right? So it's not just a season where the gentleman is blessed. This just is consistent return, consistent return. He is blessed because he's not cursed. He is blessed because he's in the sight of God, and not in the sight in terms of where he looks at God and say, God is my sight. He's in the sight of God because he's inside of God. His love is resting inside of God. He loves God. And there's a passion to be around God. There's a desire. There is a hunger and a thirst to be around the presence of God. You don't find a man of valor too often because of that very reason. Because more likely the man, once again, when the man is in the deciding factor between being a whoremonger and a man of valor, the odds are that the environment that he's incorporated with is basically siding with the whoremongers. So he's going to either beat it or join it. In most cases, you're pretty much going to be doing a solo act if you were to go to be a man of valor. So who wants to be alone, right? Only a leader. Now we can understand why the man of valor is so blessed. He stands apart. He's a leader. He's not a follower. So you'll find that man is in between being a whoremonger and a man of valor. He'll lean to the things of being a whoremonger because he's too weak to be strong to be a leader. But the results of him being a leader, or the results of him rely on that strength and go full out, pursuit of being a man of valor, the rewards is far greater than the so-called the liability or the cost that he may think that it takes to obtain or to separate from being a whoremonger. So, okay, let's keep reading in the book of Psalms about a man of valor. Let's start at verse 3. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in the season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. So the man of valor is blessed because his delight is inside the Lord. He stays there. So whatever that he do, it prosper and it never ends. That's why you have all the women going after him, right? But his eyes is only set on a virtuous woman. No matter how many women comes after them, because more likely he understands that they're coming after what he has in his possession versus him himself. So his value chart is based upon what's inside of him. If his value chart is based upon his love for God, well then if her love is not for God, what is he going to see? He's going to see past her. He's not going to see her. He's going to see what she can offer. And what can she offer? Nothing but her body. Because she can't offer the things of God because her heart is not there. So when we get to the women of virtue, which we're finna dive into right now. All right. Now we have heard about the virtuous woman, particularly Proverbs 31:10. And, it's seminars and, things of the faith about how they are virtuous or if they're not or not, if they are or they're not. The question becomes then, if you're virtuous, why are you single? And if you're not single and you're virtuous, why is your marriage miserable? Why is it not the cream of the crop? Well, in most cases, as well as we were just discussing about the man of valor, and most times the man of valor is not really a man of valor. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's actually a whoremonger. And we can say the same thing about the woman of virtue. She's not necessarily a woman of virtue. She's actually a woman in sheep's clothing, but she's actually a harlot nonetheless. Now let's talk about the woman of virtue for a second. So let's go in Proverbs 31:10. Who can find a virtuous woman? Her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband. Well, let's stop there. Let's go back to the verse. Let's go back to verse 10 and 11. No, we'll go back to verse 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? Question mark. All right. Who can find a virtuous woman? Only someone who has virtuosity inside of them. So only those that actually have the same similar interest or likeness or same similar makeup, same similar, we would say same spirit or same like-minded or that is like-minded, they would actually be in the same self category or in the iframe or of categories of pursuit. They will be that will be the object of what they're looking for. You know, they would look for something that's similar, it's one and the same, like-minded. So what makes the woman so virtuous, though? Of course, we could say this or that, and it's not the exterior details that is not based upon her physical shapes and sizes and so forth. It's not based upon how she tries to look the part of being virtuous. But what is really virtuous? All right, so let's go here. Let's go to verse 11. No. Let's go down. Let's go down to the. All right. Let's go down to Let's go down to verse 13. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar. 1 second here. She rises also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considered the field, and buyeth it with the fruit of her hands. She planted the vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengthened her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all of her household are clothed with scarlet. Or in other words, her household is well taken care of, like it is prepared for the winter months or the snow months or the cold. She maketh herself covering of the tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Now, in other words, what the picture is being painted as that she's royalty, but she's not. She don't look the part. Now, of course, we get to the end part. We're talking about she's covered in the purple, covered in silk, which is some of the fine apparel that will represent royalty, right? But yet and still, but before that, we're talking about how she gives to the poor and has her hand out to the needy. She makes sure her house is in order. She takes care of her maid servants. She take care she's inventive. In other words, she thinks about the future by planting a vineyard or buys a vineyard or buys land and plants a vineyard. But she's just so well rounded. She has so many hats. She's just not known for going to work and coming home. She's not known for her career. She's prepared for us, like in a household where she's meek and humbled, where she's easy to talk to, and more so, she's a delight to talk to. You desire to hear from her, not hear her opinion, not to hear what she feels, but she has rubies inside of her because it comes from a humble positioning versus just, you know, a bunch of information or a bunch of collection of facts. So, with that being said, if I were to ask, if the woman were to ask me the question, do I consider myself as a man of valor? I would say no. I am not a man of valor. I am still pressing towards the mark of the prize of the high calling of the Lord. So he continued to prepare me for as a man of valor. I'm not a man of valor, and I don't see too many virtuous women, and particularly how the scripture is painted her. No more that I could say myself as a man of valor, but I will not consider myself as a whoremonger. I'm in between, but I'm definitely leaning towards being a man of valor than I am being a whoremonger. So, what would be the case of the weighing and balance of deciding if I want to be a whoremonger or leaning towards the things of a man of valor? Well, I am seeking a father for humility. In other words, I don't want any secrets between him and I. I I want the Father, or I want God to be my first love, you know, and not just saying that in words. So therefore, I'm establishing a relationship with him. The scripture says in James 4:8, draw nigh to God and he will draw nigh to you. So I am doing just that. I am learning how to separate from the flesh and its desires. And like we said, like what was said, well, the significance of that is the flesh actually has a godship of its own. It wants to be worshiped. It wants to be listened to. It wants to be served, so forth, right? Well, the Heavenly Father doesn't desire the same thing. But at the same time, I mean, he doesn't go out to all out pursuit for it. But he's definitely worthy of it, right? So what are you going to do? Do you follow what the flesh wants, where you're subject to what the needs of the flesh? Or do you serve someone that actually is well deserving, where they're willing to serve you in return? And one thing about the flesh is not going to serve you back. So in my pursuit of drawing out to God is to willing to give up the flesh and his actual its pleasant desires or its wisdom of desire or what's considered to be wise in the eyesight of the flesh. So my choice of a wife would actually be a virtuous woman. So I will have to be an all-out pursuit to become a man of valor. There's no way I can expect her to be a virtuous woman if I'm not being a man of valor. There's no way. I will constantly keep getting what I've always gotten, a disappointment. I will want her to be something that she's not, or I will try to form her and shape her to something that she's not. So if I were to go in the pursuit of what I desire, that means I will have to be what I desire. I'm not going to be a woman of virtue, but I am going to be a man of valor, which is equivalent. It's the same thing. So the question becomes to men and women, what are we looking for? Are we looking for as a man, or am I looking for a harlot, or am I looking for a woman of virtue? And if as a woman, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a whoremonger, or are you looking for a man of valor? So I don't know. I mean, we're at a very interesting place, people of faith, where the decision is in our hand, but you're only going to draw what you are. You're not going to draw something of the opposite. They say opposite attracts. It does. It brings you to the forefront of attention, and as further as it goes. But then you're gonna be at somebody else's conquest at that point. You really won't get anything that's really what you truly desire until you become it. And most of us is not willing to look in the mirror to see that we're not really who we think that we are. Most cases, we are the image of what is told us to be. If the man of valor looks a certain way, so okay, he's clean cut, he's groomed, and he's this or that. He has this figures in his account. He has this is this. They show you how to dress the part, but that's according to what we read in Psalms 1. That's not a blessed individual. That's a person who's trying to look like they're blessed. A blessed individual starts off with his heart is in the delight of the Lord. He meditates that day and night. He's inside the things of God. He's more involved with being in the presence of God than he is being any place else. Now, don't get me wrong. There are things that are going to come to try to intervene with that, try to distract that. But even with that, he's making that confession known to God. That's why he has no secrets with him. So what do you think he's going to transmit to his wife? His relationship with the Father. If he don't have a relationship with the Father, what is he going to give his wife? Emptiness. So, or he's going to give her, instead of emptiness, he's going to give her what he learned from being a whoremonger. So the road towards of getting what you want and all that good stuff starts with the question, why are you single? Or it starts with a greater question would be, does God love you? You know, if you can answer that question, because the answer is within the question, but if you can find the answer within that, you find the reason why you're single. And you also see what side of the fence that you're on. We are in the balance between the two lanes. There's some that says that some that believe that they're this based upon this. And there's some that don't agree with that. And they actually are at a humble place where they really would prefer God to show them who they are versus them going by some image that they foreseen of others or said of others, what it looks like, what it should be. So I can't tell a woman that you're single because of this. You are single because of that, though. I can't make my answer to her definitive for her. That's for her to decide. But yet this does present an opportunity to be a mirror for her to look at, as well as it does with men. To look at yourself. What are you really looking for? It starts with you. Nothing more, nothing less. With that being said, my people of faith, you are the blessed. Let's be the blessing. Let's keep walking.